It's an education center. But people, they try to see that entertainment becomes the first thing. I think every forest officer has to understand the tribal development and the development. Rural development itself is another important aspect of our. So we run tribal schools also, because some of our schools are, forest department run schools are very good in many places. Our results are excellent because committed range officers, foresters, they go to these schools and see that the teachers are given the best support, etc.
Do you see tourism, developing tourism as a threat for conservation of the nature, or maybe somewhere in the future there can be a symbiotic relation between conservation and tourism, promotion of tourism?
Yeah. Now, tourism is a double-edged weapon, I would say. We cannot really allow mass tourism in a fragile area. And that is why those days we used to have core areas, we used to have peripheral areas and, buffer areas, etc. Where a lot of things, what you see in the core area, mostly you can see in the peripheral areas also. So we used to have tourism zones as well, where tourism zone people can come and move around. Tourism, in a way, has benefited because people today, with all the fast gadgets of mobiles and cameras, etc., they are able to capture good things that are happening in the forest. And this is where the awareness and outreach programs have all developed. People have come to support conservation. It is not like in our days for Silent Valley, where not many voices were heard through a lot of programs and beats. But today, for any small thing happening inside the forest, maybe a forest fire or small little issues, people are all, agitated. People really, immediately there is an awareness created. And tourism, your point is really important to, in a way, to understand. I feel there should be more and more of students coming in to learn, because it has to be an educative tourism. Tourism cannot be irresponsible tourism, where people just come to spend a day eating something, littering, throwing everything away, and then allowing people to collect whatever is left. It again becomes a responsibility on us. And imagine today, with the zoonotic diseases and epidemics, it has to become responsible tourism. When people go there, they'll have to see that they carry minimum food, they'll have to carry minimum things, go and study the forest and come back. It is not that, most of the tourist mindset, see, that is why I always say, even in a zoo management also, a zoo is more for the science of understanding wildlife. Zoo is more to understand the research of wildlife. Zoo is mainly to understand the veterinary aspects of wildlife. And then lastly, only it is entertainment. It's an education center. But people, they try to see that entertainment becomes the first thing. So I would say you have your entertainments, not that when you take your children and family that you should not have fun. But at the same time, as I told you, you have to be accountable. You cannot just go into the forest, carelessly smoke, then leave behind your butts there, and then the whole forest gets burnt and then come away. And then we'll have to look for them, then to try to book a case against them. These things cannot happen. And then it's not for fun and frolic. You just cannot go into the forest, drink around, while around, etc. When you go inside the forest, go with the element of teaching the younger generation. See, if a parent goes with his daughters or his son, see that the best thing is educated, and then the teachers, when they take the students, let them go and teach them and bring them back. So we want responsible tourism instead of accountless tourism. That's what I'm trying to say.
Right, sir. That is fantastic, sir. That is fantastic. So generally, I understand that an IFoS officer has plenty of duties. Number one, he has the responsibility of conserving both flora and fauna. Not only that, even when I talk about the development or the upliftment or empowerment of the tribes who are there in the forest is also the responsibility of an IFoS officer. Right? For example, tribal development becomes a pivotal role of an IFoS officer, if my understanding is correct. So, right. Can you share some of your experience while almost you interacting with the tribe, or almost any specific program that you have implemented where they have really benefited out of it? Any such experience can you share with our students?
As I told you earlier, tribal development is a very important aspect of forestry. Say I can tell you Tamil Nadu, tribal population, there are 36 tribal groups, there are 6 primitive tribal groups, and 1% of the population is a tribal population. And most of them are in the forest, some of them have moved outside also. They live in settlements within the forest. made with the Todas, the Kurumbas, the Paniyas, the Chettis, living in various habitation, the Malasar, Malay Malasar, they're all the tribal groups. They also want education. We run tribal schools also, because some of our schools are, Forest Department run schools are very good in many places. Our results are excellent because committed range officers, foresters, they go to these schools and see that the teachers are given the best support, etc. Tribal development itself is very important. All our programs, right from the 5-year plan periods, we have put in an element of tribal development in all our programs to see that we get the best support from them. Tribals are engaged as watchers in the forest department. They are also engaged as fire watchers. They are engaged as patrolling watchers, anti-poaching watchers. So we try to give them a lot of employment within the forest. Education also we support. Then basic amenities like housing. We also try to link up all the good government programs, the district programs. We ensure that the good district programs that are meant for tribals come into the tribal settlements. And some of them who want to educate the children, we run the schools, and if they want to go to college level, then that sort of support is also given. So tribal development, both getting the tribal involved in our protection aspect, in our development work, again gives them employment generation. So these programs ensure that every tribal who lives in the forest lives in harmony. He supports the conservation efforts. He becomes an ambassador of the forest department for mutual coexistence of the animal and the man inside. So we have to see that the tribals are kept happy. This is a very important program, and the fringe villages also have to be kept happy. So that is why most of our programs have been tribal centric, and sometimes to the extent that every person, every aspect of the tribal are taken care of, like drinking water supply, sanitation, health. I remember in the Animalize, in any settlement that you talk of protected area or outside protected areas, we have laudable programs, and which have brought us the appreciation from World Bank and from JICA for the way we have handled their development. Or this is happening in all the states. I think every forest officer has to understand the tribal development and the development. Rural development itself is another important aspect of forest department, because forest development supports rural development in a very big way. And this is where the pivotal role of forester comes into play.